Okay, good morning, everybody. Today is Thursday. It is September 28th. This is going to be an extra special gardening with Joel video. You're going to see this on Friday. But I wanted to give you guys an update on what's going on and what to look for in the fall. And as you can see back here, this is my fire bush. And if you look at the top, my fire bush has started to actually turn red. And this will become bright red. So I know over the summer months, we had talked about when the best time to do a trim on any bushes that have gotten unruly. And you can tell, I'm going to pan back out a little bit and sort of get out of the way. You can tell that this has gotten really, really big, and it is incredibly large. It needs to be trimmed back. And you can do this in the fall weather. You can do it before the leaves fall off. You ideally want to do it before it totally goes down. And I'm going to show you the other side, because the other side is a lot. You can tell that it on this side. Oh no, I'm pointing to my neighbor's tree. But on this side of the bush, it's not even. So what we're going to do this weekend is we're going to come out here and we're going to actually trim the entire fire bushes and prune them back. Now, you can prune them back in the fall, and that's when I usually suggest doing any kind of trimming is fall versus the spring or the summer. The reason you don't really want to trim them in the springtime is that's when they're getting all of their nutrients and they're getting ready to leaf and to grow. And you don't want to damage your bushes by trimming them in the springtime. You can do light trimming in the spring, but the fall is the best time to do that because they haven't had a chance to do any major damage. So any trimming that you're going to do in the fall time, over winter, the tree will actually get all of its energy for the next growing season. Now, these are old bushes. I've had these bushes ever since we moved into this house, and we've been living here for 23 years now. So they are old bushes, and they're very well established, as is my lilac. Now, my lilac bush doesn't need to be trimmed, and he will lose all of his leaves. But if you want to do the same thing with the lilac bush, you certainly can. I would wait until it loses its leaves and then do whatever trimming you want and make it more uniformed if you need to. This is a fairly new bush. I've only had it maybe 8-9 years now, so it is established, but it's still considered a young bush. Now, the ones that I just planted, or if you just planted new bushes or trees this year, I would not do anything with those trees because those trees are brand new saplings, and you want to give them at least a year or two to establish themselves before you do major trimming. Same with your rose bushes. What I do is I wait for the rose bushes to actually lose their leaves for the winter time, and then you can trim them back. Now, my husband did do some trimming this summer on some of the dead branches, which is okay to do. You just don't want to mess with your rose bushes if they're big, and you can tell that this is a huge rose bush. You don't want to trim any of the green off of it because that can actually damage your rose bush. So always wait till fall when the leaves are off of it. And oh yeah, I can. Any bush that has these little berries on, you want to be careful not to trim those off because that actually is what will produce the next season's roses. So you want to be cautious if your tree has that. Now, if they're on a dead branch, like you can see this, where these are, those you can go ahead and take off. Although obviously don't do it with a green branch. But any dead area that looks like this, you can hack it off until it starts getting green. And I'm gonna kind of be careful because this is a thorny bush. But you want to do that and make it more manageable. Now this one has gotten kind of out of control, and I'm going to hack most of this down, but I'm going to do it once fall has officially gotten into the full swing of things. I'm gonna get away from my camera on the house because it keeps doing that. Now, when do you want to actually clean out your flower boxes? Well, you can wait actually until you get close to the first frost, or you notice that your flowers are dying. Now, my flowers are still blooming because it's still been really nice. And you can see my bird bath right here has beautiful flowers. Now, I have not done any watering at all, and that's because we've gotten a lot of rain over the last couple of days here in Illinois. And you can tell it is cloudy. It's trying to get sunny, and I think later on today the sun is actually going to make a breakthrough, and we're going to be sunny the rest of the weekend. There was one thing about the rose bush that I'm going to show you, and I actually have 2 rose bushes here. But you might notice that this rose bush has one little bloom on it, and you definitely don't want to do any trimming of your rose bush if it's still in flower. And I'm going to show you on this side. This is my other rose bush, and you can tell that it's still producing flowers. So you want to make sure you're very, very careful when it comes to trimming, that you don't trim any of your rose bushes if they're still flowering, because that'll actually kill. And this one actually does have one bud right here. So that's just a gardening update on what to do in the fall time with your bushes and your rose bushes. I guess I can leave the door open today. It's actually kind of nice here today, even though it's a little bit cloudy. Hasn't become sunny yet in Illinois, and it's on the fairly cool side. It's actually only in the 60s today, and then we're going to shoot back up into the 80s. So hopefully this weekend will give me time to go out in the garden and do a few gardening things while I wait for the ceiling in the kitchen to fully dry. Now I'm going to do a 2-part video today. You saw the first part was the gardening. Now we're in the kitchen. We're going to talk about remodeling. I know you guys saw a video that I filmed Thursday. You saw it Thursday. I actually posted it the same day. You're seeing this on Friday. One thing I forgot to mention is while I'm waiting for the ceiling to fully dry, because the ceiling now has its 2 coats of paint on it, and I am done painting the ceiling. There may be a few little baubles that I might need to go back over once the ceiling is dried, and I'll do that probably later on this weekend. But the one thing I do need to do is I need to prime this area on this wall. There are a couple of small areas of the wall that I need to prime. So I'm going to do that tomorrow, and that's going to give the wall enough time to allow the primer to dry before we start actually rolling on the paint for the wall. Now, I still need to tape the ceiling, but I need to wait for the ceiling to fully cure. And I know I talked about that in yesterday's video that you guys saw on Thursday. So, until that's done, I'm not going to be able to tape anything. But while the ceiling is drying, we're also going to prime the walling and allow the wall to dry and get it ready for painting. And that is going to conclude today's video. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you guys have any gardening questions, leave them down below. Don't forget to hit the like button and the subscribe button. I will be doing, I thought long and hard about this when I was posting some of the gardening videos that I did during this week and the previous weeks. I may do a once a week special gardening video, especially for those of you that have houseplants or are thinking of bringing outdoor plants into the house for the winter time. We're going to talk about that. And actually, I thought, let's start right now, because I have 2 plants that are house plants currently in the house, and they're up front. And I know in a video, I think I did it last week, where I touched base on, you know, when you bring an outdoor plant in, where's the best place to put the plant if it's in full sun? Well, you need to see which way your windows are facing. Now, here in this particular house, all of my windows are either north facing or south facing. I don't have any east facing windows because that direction where my finger is pointed, I'm going to kind of tilt you guys over, that would be east. I do have a set of west facing windows, but they happen to be in the master bedroom. And the problem with that being a westernly faced direction is I keep the bedroom too cold to support any indoor plants. I keep my bedroom that cold, and I don't want plants in my bedroom, so I won't have any that are facing that direction. Now, the rooms that get the most sunlight are my southern facing windows, and they get quite a bit of sun during the day. They don't get direct sunlight all day long, which is a little bit tricky when you have plants that require full sunlight. So that would be considered a partial shade window. My north-facing windows also don't get a lot of full sunlight. Now, I could, in the kitchen, I'm going to kind of turn you, this would be considered a western-facing wall, while this side would be an eastern-facing. Could I theoretically put my plants here in the kitchen? I could. The only problem with doing this is if they're in big pots, and you guys have seen my pots outside, they're too big for the kitchen. If you have windows that are set up where you have a north, east, and west facing window in your kitchen, you either want to do a hanging small pot or do a very, very small plant. And most people in the kitchen, if they're going to bring in outdoor plants, will do like a small herb garden where they can get the herbs because you're using them in the kitchen. Now, like I said, unfortunately, all of my plants are too big. They're in too big of pots, so they will not fit well in the kitchen. So they're going to have to go in my southern-facing window. And I'll talk about that more when the time comes and I start to bring the plants in. I'm probably about maybe 2.5 to 3 weeks from having to start thinking about that, as our temperatures are still above normal. And right now here in Illinois, normal or average highs for us should be about 70 degrees, and the lows should be in the upper 50s. 52, 53, 54. Now, the further into October we get, the colder the temperatures are going to get. And by probably the 3rd week of October is when my outdoor plants are going to have to come back into the house. And I'll touch base on that when the time comes. So anyway, thank you guys so much for tuning in. I know I said hit the like button. Leave me a comment down below if you guys are going to bring in some of your plants for the winter time. Any comments, again, leave them down below. I love to reply to them. And I will see you guys on the next Gardening with Joel video.